As an example in this video, we will use the HP OfficeJet 6500 multifunction printer, which requires one black cartridge and 3 separate color cartridges to function. Now let's take a closer look at these inkjet cartridges, which, unlike the systems in the past, which included their own print head, these only come with a small computer chip assembly at the end and the area where the ink is dispensed through a sponge type port into a larger cartridge which holds the inkjet. You see the retaining clip here, and basically it is a narrow receptacle made of plastic for holding the ink. They're all pretty much the same, and we can take a closer look at the anatomy of these in the blue cartridge we see here that I pried open with the use of a screwdriver and hammer. You see we can pull the top off so you can begin to see what is really going on in here. This is a very simple system of 2 chambers. Interestingly, the chamber that you see where my index finger is pointed now does not have ink in it and did not come with ink in it. As you see, it's bone dry and there are no connecting openings or ports into the larger sponge assembly you see above. This is where the business of the inkjet cartridge is really taking place. And as we see here, we can take out the top layer of sponge type material which is impregnated with ink, and as we get closer to the dispensing port at the bottom of the inkjet cartridge, we see that this is a more heavily saturated sponge, and that's basically it. So we'll take a closer look in here. As you see, there's really nothing very sophisticated going on here. There's no computer chips or special sensors in here, as some people get the impression of when they see that their printer tells them how much ink is left over. This is just a reservoir with only 2.5 milliliters of ink saturated in those sponges. To give you some idea what this looks like, here's 2.5 milliliters of water. As we squirt this on the desktop, you can see that this is a very minute amount. In fact, some people probably spill more coffee on their clothes every day than they get in their average inkjet cartridge. Now let's take a closer look at a volume and price comparison for the inkjet cartridges required by this printer. These are the prices as they would be at a local discount store, and we see the approximate volumes. Now, a single black cartridge does hold more volume of ink than an individual color cartridge, which we see combined here for the purpose of a greater cost savings. But the total ink amount of all of these cartridges together would be about 11.5. Adding the numbers together, we're paying approximately $48 for that ink, which comes to about $4.16 per milliliter. One possible solution to get around this exorbitant cost is what's called a continuous ink supply system. As we can see here, my printer is indeed configured with one such system. Basically, this system is composed of 4 inkjet cartridges with small tubes running off of each of them where the continuous ink supply will flow. These flow to the outside of the printer to other larger receptacles where the ink is filled up. These larger ink reservoirs can be conveniently placed to the side or behind the printer, and although the ribbon tubing leading into the printer may be a bit of an eyesore, it is well worth it considering the enormous cost savings that comes as a result of using this system. Initial investment into this continuous ink supply system from a reputable dealer was only $89.99, which included all the items depicted here. Starting from the left, we see we have the ink cartridge blanks, which replace the ink cartridges currently in your printer, the connected ribbon tubing, which leads to those larger external ink reservoirs, and some additional tools for purging the lines and installing these cartridges properly so that they'll be up and running in no time. But the real value of the continuous ink supply system is not so much in the cleverly designed hardware, but in the massive quantity of high-quality ink you receive with the system. Preloaded, the 4 ink reservoirs, in combination with the internal inkjet cartridges, each contain 80 milliliters of ink. In total, that's 320 milliliters, and when we multiply that by the retail cost factor of $4.16 a milliliter, comes to a whopping $1,331.20, which is certainly not a price anyone could ever imagine paying for ink. In addition to my $90 investment into the ink supply system, I also purchased 4 additional bottles of refill ink. Each bottle contains 60 milliliters at a cost of $7 per bottle. When we put this all together in the cost equation, we see that just considering the ink and the ink only, we have a total of 320 milliliters of ink for approximately $90 and 240 milliliters of ink for $28. This is a total investment of $117.99 for 560 milliliters of color ink. Conceivably, if we were to apply the retail cost factor of $4.16 per milliliter of ink to this total ink quantity, we would come up with $2,329.60. You don't have to be Einstein to figure out there's something wrong with this picture. Look into it.